Well. What's going on, everybody? Well, today was quite interesting. Guys, sorry, that's my dog. She's got a new toy. It's a rubber chicken. So, if y'all hear that, I apologize. Anyways, come here. Okay, so I'm speechless about today's events. I got up this morning. I was ready. Oh, dog. Her and this chicken, bro. I got up this morning. I was ready to see what was going to happen. If anything was going to happen. That's the chicken. No, you can't have it right now. And I was shocked. I was shocked to find out exactly what went down. So there's a lot of reports coming in that Antifa infiltrated. See if we can't fix this light a little bit. Antifa actually infiltrated the Trump supporters today, and there's pictures actually on Twitter and a couple other places of these Antifa people, like the guy with the bullhorn or the horns, and he's actually a member of Antifa or something like that. Anyways, so everyone's saying that, the ones that were storming the Capitol today, that was not true patriots. I don't know. I think there's a lot of pissed off people. I think there's a lot of people that don't understand what to do right now. There may be some people even scared, worried about what's going on in our country. So I just wanted to hop on and let everyone know everything's going to be okay. Tomorrow is still going to come. There's still going to be a tomorrow. And no matter what we witness today, no matter what we're going through, everything's going to be all right. And a lot of people, listen, we're divided. We are a country divided. What does that mean moving forward? How do we process that? What are the steps that we need to take? I mean, anyone's guess is as good as the next, I guess. We're all just human beings. We all have our opinions. There's no one clear answer or solution to all of this. I would say you just have to trust that the world's going to keep going on. Now, I'm going to be upfront and be honest. I didn't like what I saw today at the Capitol. Not because I don't think those people have a legitimate argument. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they do have a legitimate argument, but I just don't think we should ever take it to that level unless we have to. And I didn't see the need that we had to do that. So So let's talk about it. There's a lot of people confused. There's a lot of people worried. There are emotions all over the place. Um, Uncertainty. If you haven't noticed, Bitcoin is going through the roof right now. It's like 35. Let me check. I think the latest, excuse me. I think the latest it was like at $35,000 a Bitcoin. And I remember just 3 weeks ago, it was sitting around 21. Let me make sure. Yeah, Bitcoin's at $37,621 roughly per Bitcoin. And a month ago, December 7th, it was at 19,000 a Bitcoin. So they've been printing money left and right. What does that mean? I think something like 20% of all funds, all money in circulation right now was printed in the last 10 months. That's crazy. Maybe people smarter than me in economics are putting their money and other resources besides the American dollar, because that's just crazy. But let's talk about it. You've got to be able to take a step back and look at the broader picture. Look, we watched the entire summer, as most of the country did. We watched our streets on fire. We watched civil unrest. While I think it was a perfect storm with the lockdowns, everyone being kept inside for, how long we were kept, everybody was locked down. And then the whole, George Floyd incident happened, and it was like lighting a fuse on a TNT bomb. I mean, it was a perfect storm, and it really shook our country. But what surprises me the most is that when everyone was out protesting over the summer, I remember there was one, I think it was CNN. They had a guy there, and they called it, a mostly peaceful protest. And, the city behind him is just, it's on fire. Buildings are literally on fire. And then after what we saw today at the Capitol, I think they broke one window. Some people broke a window. I know a woman got shot. She was a 14-year veteran. She got shot. I believe she died. Don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure she died. They weren't catching things on fire. I don't believe anyone killed anyone today from our side. I'm pretty sure protesters were fighting amongst themselves over the summer. They were shooting each other. I think more people died in the protests than the reason why everyone started protesting. So that was a little odd to me to watch and to witness over the summer. And now to hear the same people so outraged that, these people did what they did. And again, they're saying that they were infiltrated by some Antifa or some no do gooders today. So who knows? But anyways, you know this channel. You know why I'm here. This is a good time as any to start talking about the situation and how do we move forward? How do we heal? What are some things that we can do? And I think one thing we can do is open our Bibles. We can start praying. You have to find that connection with whatever religion that is. I think we really have to get back to the basics. We have to get back to our roots, and I think that means family. I think that means, our children, taking care of our children. I was brought up, they called us the turnkey generation. This is when, I was born in the 80s. So this is when parents, both parents started to work, and the mom was no longer raising the kids, so we would get off the bus. I remember I walked to school to and back. I did actually walk to school, kindergarten through fourth grade, and then we got bused downtown in Nashville, and I went to Carter Lawrence. It was about a 45-minute trip down there, but when we got home, we had a key, so there wasn't a lot of supervision. Got away with a lot of stuff. And then so after that generation was the helicopter parents. And so I have a 14-year-old, and I think maybe I did this a little bit at first, where because we didn't really have the parent, we was all over God's green earth. I mean, we literally stayed outside the entire time. You was not allowed to come in, especially during the summer. When you were out of school and you was home, it was go outside, stay outside. If you're thirsty, the hose pipe's right there. Drink from the garden hose. Don't be running in and out of my house. Stay outside. And so that's what we did. We had our bikes. That's how you found out where everybody was. Ride down the street, you see a pile of bikes, skirt. That's where everybody was, This is before cell phones and all that. I mean, but anyway, so then you had the helicopter parent generation where they were just overtop their kids. Every little thing they did, they're right there, they're hovering over them. And I think because when they were brought up, their parents weren't around like that. So every generation, you're going to have something like that. Like, people, the parents didn't like when rock and roll came out for their kids, and so on and so forth. So every generation is going to have that type of clash. The what we is what older adults or parents now are saying. God, I can't believe our kids are growing up in this day and age, and I'm worried about our children and their children. But our grandparents and great grandparents said the same for us. It's always going to be like this. The world's going to keep spinning. Well, I don't know. There is a 180-day countdown until they release information about UFOs. So we'll see about that. Who knows what's going to come out of all that, right? But I don't see a whole lot coming of this. We dealt with riots over the summer, 180 days straight of riots. We dealt with protests in the street. We got used. This is what I think happened. We got used to seeing riots. We got used. I don't want to say they. The mainstream media got us to where we were just like this was just a part of life. Like, All right. Um, there's riots again, and it got to a point where it was almost expected. It wasn't a shock anymore. The shock had lost its value. It had just became a norm, and I don't know if that was done by design. I don't know if that was intentional, but they weren't. I don't remember a whole lot of people just being outraged and calling for people to stop doing this. I believe like Portland's mayor, they allowed it to continue, and um, there was riots in Wisconsin that they allowed it to happen, and just all over the place. And I remember sitting and watching. I was like, why is no one? Why is no one saying, like, coming out and saying anything? Why is this just being tolerated? And then I remember them saying that the protests, they were allowed to protest, but you weren't allowed to leave your house. You weren't allowed to go do the things that we were normally allowed to do because of the pandemic. And I'm sure that has gotten to a lot of people. Like, how you can't justify letting certain groups of people do as they please, and then having normal everyday people first losing their jobs because the government has decided to shut down the country, and then you keep them inside the house and they can't go do anything, and the only thing they have to watch on TV is seeing everyone else out and about destroying things, probably the same job that you just lost because it got vandalized. Now you're at home without a job and you can't leave your house, but the people that did that are still out protesting. Now, I'm not saying that it was, I agree or disagree with the protests. Well, actually, I disagree with the protests. I'm not saying it was for a just cause or not. That's not for me to decide. That's for society to decide. Um, but just like I condone what happened at the Capitol, I condone um, the violence that happened in the streets and the burning of looting of businesses and buildings. 70% of small businesses are not coming back. I think they burned a third, like 20 or 30% of the cities were burnt, were torched. That's crazy. It's crazy times, but I believe it's always been crazy time. The only time I can remember where it felt just like everybody was good. Like, it was just like everybody was like, "Hey, man, we're good." It was in the 90s and 2000s. I just remembered it was like there wasn't a whole lot of beef between like the races. Like, I don't understand that. I grew up like I don't want to be that white guy, but I mean, it just wasn't like that when I was growing up, and I think a lot of people my age can uh, say the same thing. It was just a different time, and they've used this race thing, man, uh, to to push out certain narratives and have people upset about the wrong things. I just think this country is too good for that. Like, we as people, like, we've come so far as a people to be that easily manipulated by, if you want to call it, look, this is how I see it. Where you get your information from, that's how you're gonna perceive the situation. If you're watching, I would say Fox, but a lot of conservatives or right wingers, they've left Fox and went to OAN, Newsmax. A lot of your other like Tim Pool, Tim Cast, Salty Cracker, Liberal Hive Mind. Let's Be Frank. So people that are getting their information from that side. That's how they feel. They genuinely feel that way, and they feel the other side is the side that's wrong. Now the side that's watching the CNN, the MSNBC, just regular everyday CBS, NBC. I can say this personally. My mom moved in with me uh, before the summer. My father passed away about 7 years ago, and she was unable to keep her house. She moved in with me anyhow. She was used to just watching, ABC, CBS, and so forth. And this was right when I was starting to deal with my depression, and so I was watching a lot of YouTube, and I was watching a lot of Joe Rogan. That podcast really helped me a lot as I was doing my research on depression, on psilocybin, on ketamine, just depression in general. But I got exposed to these other people that I just mentioned, and so these are two separate groups of people that feel strongly about the way they feel, and there's no in between on that. There needs to be some dialogue. There needs to be some in between. We're gonna have to find a way. We're gonna have to find a way as a people to come together and at least be able to hash it out without throwing names around like racist and bigots. That's not conducive of any way to get this country back the way that it needs to be. I mean, me personally, I believe when everyone's doing well, you have nothing to complain about. Like when you're at work and you're busy, you're not thinking about nothing else but your work, right? So as long as everyone has a job and has got some money in their pocket, I believe for the most part we're all good. That's all. I think that just makes everybody a little less, alert. But when you start messing with people's money, there's always one thing that you can count on, and if that's when you start messing with somebody's wallet. You start digging in somebody's wallet, and you start messing with their money. You're gonna see some tensions flare. You're gonna get a hold of some people that aren't gonna like that too much, and so I think the best thing for the country right now would be get everyone back to work. Start opening businesses for God's sakes. The pandemic, I've had COVID. My entire family's had COVID. Nobody went to the hospital. I believe the CDC just came out like they're not even testing for the flu this year because that's a whole different thing. You can't live your life in fear. If you catch it, you catch it. There's treatments, there's therapeutics. They have vaccines now. I mean, at some point, we're just going to have to say, all right, go back and look. Go back and look how many people died in 2019 versus how many people died in 2020. Just look at that. Use that as your jumping off point. And then you also have to take into account how many people overdosed this year because they were shuttered inside their homes. How many people committed suicide due to depression? Do you know how many? There's kids out here committing suicide because of depression. And that's another reason why I wanted to start this channel. No one's talking about this. Where is the conversation at? Where's the organizations coming out and saying, oh my God, we've had an unprecedented amount of young young people take their lives due to all this. We've got to get kids back in school. This is their formative years. This is when they learn to become adults, and what they're forced to sit home and what's broadcast on TV is negative, and it's not doing our next generation of kids any good. And so we're going to be discussing this more and more. But please, everything is going to be okay. If no one else tells you that, I'll tell you that, because it's always going to be okay. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be the next day. It's going to work itself out. It always does. The question is, are we going to help it work? It's not just going to work out because we want it to. We're going to have to put the effort in, but that's in anything that goes on in your life. We're going to have to make the effort to make it okay. But what we can't continue to do is pit one another against one another. We've got to stop doing that. That's not going to help anybody. All right, I'm gonna jump off here. I'll be posting another video. Tomorrow? So I'll be looking out for that. And like I said, just open your Bibles, hug your family, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. You know, they say you never know what somebody's going through. No truer words have ever been spoken. You don't know what someone may be going through. So the best thing you can give someone is a smile. If they don't have one, give them yours. And we'll see y'all again tomorrow.